Hey, what's going on everyone? Before we dive in, I need your help. We're grinding to hit that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and every single subscription matters. If you're about real football talk without the nonsense, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's build this thing together and bring you the content you actually want to see. Now let's get into it. You know what just happened? The entire football world just got put on notice. And honestly, it's about time someone said what needed to be said. Eisen just delivered one of the most devastating takedowns in sports media history, and the target wasn't some random player or washed-up veteran. No, this was about Shedeur Sanders and every single person who's been running their mouth about him since draft day. The explosion you just witnessed wasn't an accident. It was calculated, it was necessary, and it was absolutely brutal in the best way possible. Let me paint the picture for you, because this moment deserves context. Shedeur Sanders walks onto an NFL practice field, and immediately the takes start flying. Everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got something to say, and most of it sounds like it came from people who haven't watched a single snap of actual football. They're judging off vibes, off assumptions, off whatever narrative fits their agenda. Meanwhile, this kid is out there putting in work that would make most quarterbacks his age collapse under the pressure. But that's not the story they want to tell, is it? Eisen has been watching this circus unfold, and you could tell he was getting more frustrated by the day. Every bad take, every lazy comparison, every comment section filled with people who probably couldn't throw a spiral to save their lives. All of it was building up, and then finally he had enough. He didn't just push back gently or offer a mild correction. He came out swinging with the kind of energy that makes you sit up straight and pay attention whether you want to or not. This wasn't a debate, it was a statement. The beautiful thing about what Eisen did was how he dismantled every single argument piece by piece. He didn't just say people were wrong, he showed them why they were wrong, how they were wrong, and made them look foolish for even thinking it in the first place. That's the difference between opinion and analysis. Anyone can have an opinion, it takes actual knowledge and preparation to break down why that opinion doesn't hold up under scrutiny. And trust me, Eisen brought the receipts. One of the first things he tackled was this ridiculous narrative about Shedeur being handed everything because of his last name. Like somehow being Deion Sanders' son makes football easier. Are you kidding me? If anything, that makes everything harder. Every mistake gets magnified, every throw gets overanalyzed, every interview gets picked apart looking for signs of arrogance or entitlement. Most people would crumble under that kind of microscope, but Shedeur's been thriving in it his entire career. Think about what this kid has actually accomplished. He didn't just play quarterback at one college program. He transformed two different programs in completely different situations. Jackson State wasn't exactly a powerhouse when he got there. Colorado was a mess before he and his father arrived. Both times he came in and immediately elevated everyone around him. That's not luck. That's not name recognition. That's genuine talent combined with an insane work ethic. But sure, let's keep pretending he's just coasting on his dad's reputation. Eisen brought up something that a lot of people conveniently forget, the interview process. Apparently some NFL teams decided Shedeur didn't interview well, and somehow that became a knock against him. Rich wasn't having any of that nonsense. He pointed out, and rightfully so, that we're supposed to trust the evaluation of organizations that consistently make terrible decisions. Teams that draft busts in the first round, hand out massive contracts to players who don't deserve them, and then act shocked when things don't work out. But yeah, their 30-minute interview assessment is definitely the gold standard we should all be following. The reality is that some teams just aren't comfortable with confidence. They want their rookies to come in humble, grateful, almost apologetic for being there. Shedeur doesn't operate that way, and honestly, why should he? He's earned every opportunity he's gotten. He's proven himself at every level. He knows what he's capable of, and he's not going to pretend otherwise just to make some uncomfortable executives feel better. That authenticity scares people who are used to controlling the narrative. What really set Eisen off, though, was the hypocrisy of it all. The same people criticizing Shedeur for being confident are the same ones who praise veteran quarterbacks for having that killer instinct and leadership presence. The same analysts who question his character will turn around and make excuses for players with actual red flags in their background. It's transparent and it's exhausting. Either have consistent standards or admit you're just looking for reasons to tear someone down. The practice field reports are starting to come in now, and surprise, surprise, they're glowing. Coaches are talking about his preparation, his football IQ, his ability to command the offense. Teammates are responding to his leadership. The throws are crisp, the decisions are quick, the whole operation looks smooth. Everything the doubters said wouldn't happen is happening right in front of their faces. And what's the response? Crickets. Suddenly everyone's a lot quieter about their hot takes from 3 months ago. Rich Eisen saw this coming from a mile away. While everyone else was busy crafting narratives and fishing for clicks, he was actually watching the tape. He was paying attention to the details that matter. The footwork, the pocket presence, the way Shedeur processes information faster than most veterans. All those intangibles that separate good quarterbacks from great ones. And now that the rest of the world is catching up, Eisen's getting to do a well-deserved victory lap. Let's talk about the pressure situation for a second, because that's really what this comes down to. Most rookies show up to training camp looking terrified. The speed of the game is different. The complexity of the defenses is overwhelming. The margin for error is razor thin. It's a massive adjustment that takes time and patience. But Shedeur walked in looking like he'd been there before. No deer in the headlights moment, no obvious rookie mistakes, just calm execution that suggests he's been preparing for this his entire life. That preparation didn't happen by accident. Growing up around elite football, being coached by one of the best to ever play the game, studying film since he was old enough to understand what he was watching, all of that created a foundation that most rookies simply don't have. By the time Shedeur got to the NFL, he'd already seen every coverage, every blitz package, every defensive wrinkle you could imagine. The playbook might be new, but the concepts aren't foreign. That's a massive advantage that people keep overlooking. The comparison game is always interesting with quarterbacks like this. People want to find comps, want to project what kind of player he'll become, want to put him in a neat little box that makes sense. But Shedeur doesn't really fit the mold of traditional quarterback prospects. He's got mobility, but he's not a run-first guy. He's got arm strength, but he's not just slinging it deep every play. He's got confidence, but he's not reckless. He's this unique blend of skills and traits that makes him dangerous in ways that are hard to categorize. Rich Eisen understood that from the beginning. He didn't try to force comparisons or project some predetermined outcome. He just evaluated what he saw on the field and came to the obvious conclusion that this kid can play. Not might be able to play. Not could develop into something, but can play right now at a high level. That take seemed controversial when he first started saying it. Now it's looking more and more like simple common sense. The offensive system he's walking into matters too. You can have all the talent in the world, but if the scheme doesn't fit your skill set, you're going to struggle. Luckily for Shedeur, the offense he's running plays to his strengths. Quick decisions, intermediate routes, using his mobility when needed, but not relying on it. It's the kind of system that allows a smart quarterback to succeed immediately without needing years to figure things out. And trust me, Shedeur is taking full advantage. What's happening now is that the narrative is shifting in real time. Those early hot takes about character concerns and interview red flags are evaporating like morning fog. The focus is moving to where it should have been all along, on the actual football. Can he make the throws? Yes. Can he read defenses? Absolutely. Can he lead an offense? All signs point to yes. Everything else was just noise created by people who had already made up their minds before watching a single practice snap. The receivers are starting to trust him, and that's huge. In any offense, the quarterback and pass catchers need to be on the same page. They need to know where the ball's going, when it's coming, how much velocity it'll have. That chemistry usually takes time to develop, but with Shedeur, it seems to be clicking faster than expected. Routes are being run with purpose. Catches are being made in stride. The timing is crisp. That doesn't happen unless the guy throwing the ball knows exactly what he's doing. The offensive line deserves credit too, because they're buying into what this offense can be. Linemen know when their quarterback is going to extend plays, when he's going to get rid of it quick, when he needs an extra second. They're adjusting their technique and finishing their blocks because they can see the difference a confident quarterback makes. It creates this positive feedback loop where everyone elevates their game because they don't want to be the weak link. Defensive coordinators around the league are taking notice. They're watching the practice film, seeing how quickly he gets through progressions, how he manipulates safeties with his eyes, how he's comfortable throwing into tight windows when needed. That's the stuff that keeps defensive coaches up at night. A quarterback who can process information quickly and make accurate throws is basically a nightmare to game plan against. Add in the mobility factor, and suddenly you're dealing with a problem that doesn't have an easy solution. Rich Eisen's rant wasn't just about defending one player, it was about demanding better from the entire football media ecosystem. Too many people are comfortable throwing out lazy takes without doing the actual work of evaluation. They rely on narratives instead of analysis, assumptions instead of film study, clicks instead of credibility. Someone needed to call that out, and Eisen did it in spectacular fashion. He held up a mirror and forced people to see how ridiculous they sounded. The business side of this is interesting too. Teams that passed on Shedeur are probably starting to second guess themselves now. Not that they'll admit it publicly, but internally there have to be conversations happening. Front office executives looking at their own quarterback situation and wondering if they made a mistake. Coaches watching practice highlights and thinking about what could have been. That's the cost of overthinking things and letting narrative override evaluation. What makes this whole situation even more compelling is that we're just getting started. This is training camp, these are practice reps. The real games haven't even begun yet. If Shedeur is looking this good in a controlled environment, what happens when the lights come on and it counts for real? That's the question everyone's about to get answered. And if early indications are any guide, the answer is going to make a lot of people eat their words. The mental side of quarterback play is so underrated. Physical tools matter, obviously, but the best quarterbacks are the ones who can stay calm under pressure, make quick decisions, and not let mistakes snowball into disasters. Shedeur has shown all of those traits throughout his career. He doesn't panic when plays break down. He doesn't force throws into coverage. He doesn't let one bad read affect the next one. That mental toughness is something you can't teach. You either have it or you don't. Rich Eisen recognized that mental component immediately. He's been around enough quarterbacks to know the difference between physical talent and genuine quarterback instincts. Shedeur has both, which is rare. Most prospects have one or the other, but not the complete package. The fact that evaluators missed that or chose to ignore it says more about them than it does about the player. And now everyone's about to witness what happens when elite talent meets elite preparation. The social media aspect adds another layer to this whole thing. Every throw gets recorded, every practice rep gets analyzed, every interaction gets dissected. That kind of constant scrutiny would overwhelm most people, but Shedeur seems completely unfazed by it. If anything, he appears to thrive in that environment. He knows people are watching, knows they're looking for reasons to doubt him, and uses that as motivation to prove them wrong. That's elite level mental makeup. Fans are starting to come around too. Even the skeptics are beginning to admit that maybe there's something here worth paying attention to. Jersey sales are up, social media engagement is through the roof. People who normally wouldn't care about training camp are suddenly checking for updates. That's the impact of having a polarizing figure who backs up the confidence with actual performance. Love him or hate him, you're paying attention, and that matters. The coaching staff has to be thrilled with what they're seeing. Finding a quarterback who can run your offense effectively is the hardest thing to do in football. Teams go decades without solving that problem. To potentially have found the answer this quickly, with this little drama, has to feel like winning the lottery. They're not having to simplify the playbook or limit the concepts. They can run the full offense and trust that their quarterback will execute. That opens up so many possibilities. What happens next is anyone's guess, but the trajectory is pointing straight up. Every day brings new clips, new highlights, new evidence that this kid is the real deal. The haters are getting quieter, the supporters are getting louder, and the national conversation is shifting. This is how stars are born in the NFL. Not through hype or marketing, but through consistent performance that becomes impossible to ignore. Shedeur is right in the middle of that process, and it's beautiful to watch. Rich Eisen deserves the last word here because he was the one with the courage to go against the grain when it wasn't popular. He saw something special, trusted his evaluation, and stood by it even when others were doubting. Now he gets to watch it all unfold exactly how he predicted. That's not luck, that's expertise. And hopefully it serves as a reminder to everyone that actual analysis will always beat lazy narratives in the long run. The truth has a way of revealing itself. You just have to be patient enough to let it happen.